So let's just try some stretching. So picking apples, straightening the arm to reach, and then bending the arm to pull the apple down and just bring it into the heart. To get maximum extension, my spine needs to tip a little and my head needs to pull out of the way. Like you're draining water out of your ear after a shower. So we allow the head maximum movement. And now just bringing the arms out. Turn one hand over, one hand facing down, one hand facing up, and then just turn the head towards the hand that's facing up. And then turn the head the other way, turning the hands over. Feel as though the turning of the hands is what's dragging the head round. So these two movements are connected. And then bringing the hands up and down. And now let's rub the hands. Placing the hands over the sacrum. So each hand over a sacroiliac joint. And now let's rotate the head. And then just change direction. And now rubbing the hands again. And then the hands over the dantian. Breathe through the small hole in the mouth. Feel the muscular action in the dantian region when you inhibit the breathing a little. Pulling in the belly and tightening, making fists, bowing the spine, closing your eyes strongly, and then releasing and opening. So I'm pulling the belly in and pushing it out. Pulling it in, out, in. So just reaching forwards I want to feel that every part of this is an effort. The reaching out is just as much an effort as the pulling in. We want to feel the yin and yang structure of reality. So relaxation is only useful if I'm tense, and tension is only useful if I'm relaxed. So they belong together. The relaxation releases out of the tension, and the tension comes from the relaxation. So really, it's just perpetual motion in a sense. You know, life is movement. You know, existence is movement, really. And so if something is getting tense and it can't get any more tense and it wants to continue moving, then it has to relax, and vice versa. So again, the actions are always active. They're always the continuous presence. So I'm never relaxed. I'm either relaxing or I'm tensing. So we don't want our relaxation to be flabby, and the same way we don't want our tension to be stiff. So we have to distinguish between what I call good tension. It's really just a toned connectivity. So things are connected, and that connection is just stressed a little bit. And bad tension is just disconnection. So something's got so tense that it's pulled into itself and broken its connection with the other things. So we want to cultivate good tension and try and minimize the bad tension. Okay, let's stand up. Let's begin the standing by establishing this center of the body. So one fist on the Dan Chen, the other fist at the back on the Ming Men. And just clench the fists a little bit to encourage the mind to focus down into this point. Mind in Dan Chen is simply concentrating, focusing, bringing the mind to bear. And what I would like is for this local tension, this local gathering and tightening here, where my fists are, to be like an anchor that allows everything around it to release, particularly the end of the tail. And now let's start the breathing exercise. So we normally do the breathing exercise with the hands like this. So the hands are indicating the breath, if you like. Now I want to do it from here, but it's the same action in my spine. So I'm going to tighten my belly and get my spine to curve into this C shape. And then I'm going to expand the belly and imagine tightening around the Ming Men to get yourself to arch backwards a little bit. So working these two centers together, this is the region where our movements begin, if you like. Tightening the belly, that pulls my tail under a bit and my head over. And then I tighten the Ming Men. It's a difficult feeling. So it's the same exercise as the breathing we normally do, but as soon as we get the arms involved, our mind tends to be with the arms. Here I want to keep my mind with the motor, and the motor is this Dantian region, not the arms. One side is tightening, the other side is stretching, and then the stretching side tightens and the other side stretches. Feel the two sides, front and back, bound up in this work. And now let's bring it into riding horse proper. Keeping this feeling here, everything's focusing in to this point. And now let's work the arms a little bit. So just make fists and just cross the arms at the wrists. And pull. The arm that's inside is trying to straighten out, and the arm that's outside is trying to bend in. So they're fighting each other. And then you've got to somehow roll them so the other hand is on the outside. And they're still working all the way through that action if you can. How do you change them round without reducing the tension too much? And we just keep on going until the shoulders and the arms can't take any more. Yeah, so one arm's pulling in, one arm's pushing out, and then I just roll them. So the one that's inside, I try to loop over the top, and the one that's outside, I loop underneath, all the time, keeping the tension between them. We're just trying to cultivate the good tension. Because to get rid of bad tension, it won't happen by relaxing. The bad tension will only relax if you can work it, if you can bring good tension into the system. So I just roll the fists. And I roll them round again. And again. So this is really power work. The power work is just working ring muscles, tightening, relaxing, tightening, relaxing. But you tighten the ring muscle and it squeezes it closed. And then the opening of the ring muscle isn't simply a relaxation. Something in you has to squeeze open, like the fist. So let's just try, keep this here. And now just open one of the hands into a fist, into an open hand, and really stretch the fingers like you're trying to almost bend the fingers backwards. And then clench that one and allow the other one to open. All the time, maintaining tension. It's as though every little millimeter of movement, I'm really having to work hard. And you can feel it just bringing movement into the whole body. Every part of you is wanting to get involved in this action. That is good tension. And then you just roll it every now and then, just to keep every part of the system changing. And now just relaxing. So that's the sort of action that's inside us all the time, because we're always undergoing metabolic process inside our body. So we have a digestion that's working, we have blood that's pumping, the lymph is moving. We're just not aware of it. But that's the fundamental action of our body, really, is to get movement within the body. And it requires this peristaltic ring muscle action of like squeezing something along a tube. That's the correct sort of tension that we want to cultivate. And now let's work the legs. the same sort of thing. Feel the two phases. There's the bending of the legs phase and there's the straightening of the legs phase. I want both phases to be a work. Something is having to tense in order to complete it. So we normally feel it as I'm relaxing and allowing gravity to take me down. These muscles are having to work to stop me from falling too quickly. And then these muscles work even more strongly to bring me up. So I relax a little bit, I allow gravity to take me down, and then I tense and straighten up. So I relax, and then I squeeze the muscles to bring myself up. I relax. So as we repeat this, it starts to change. It starts to become like that parallel exercise. So rather than it simply being a tension here followed by a relaxation here, this is the pulling phase. This is the phase of pulling something towards me, which requires a muscular action. And so it kicks in the hamstrings. So in order to bring myself down, I don't just relax and let gravity pull me. I want to work these muscles against my supporting muscles. So I tighten my hamstrings and I pull myself down. I'm pulling something in, and then I'm pushing something out and away. So here I'm pulling, like you're pulling something in with your hands. So you can feel that action, something almost reducing, getting smaller and smaller inside in order to suck your hands in. I want the same feeling here in the legs and this part of my body. And I'm bending my arms to pull my hands into the belly, but I'm also bending my legs actively to bring myself down. And then here I'm straightening and bending and straightening. Try and feel it in the front and the back of the leg. Front of the leg is easy to feel. We're using that all the time. We tend not to use the hamstrings. That's difficult to activate, but once you do activate it, because we're not used to it, it's easy to feel. So now I tighten the hamstrings. It just requires a different determination. So if you imagine the difference between a boxer and a wrestler. Boxers are sort of light and whipping out all the time and dancing around, you know, like Muhammad Ali. Whereas wrestlers are like these big bears, these really strong bears, and they're just grabbing and crushing. So that's the feeling. When you straighten the legs, this is like the boxer. You're extending something out. And then here, this is like the wrestler. You're wrestling the ground with your legs. Here, you're punching the ground with your legs, if you like, or pushing it. And then here I'm pulling it and crushing it in. I want to feel the muscle that does that. It's the back of the leg. It's this muscle here that tightens and draws me down. And then it's this muscle that whips out. Much easier to feel in the arms. With the arms, it's the other way around. We're much more conscious of the bicep, the muscle that bends the arm, than we are of the tricep, the muscle that straightens the arm. So the tricep is the equivalent to the quad, and the bicep, the arm bicep, is equivalent to the hamstring. So I'm pulling the ground, pulling myself down, and then if I can keep my mind with it and just keep on repeating, then the exercise will bring itself into the realm of this peristaltic power energy, which is what's so healthy, so rejuvenating, and so useful, because it's quick, it's really whippy and spirited. So I remember, one of the most instructive things I think I ever heard from John was when he described that perfect Tai Chi exercise machine, just a conceptual thing. Where he talked about the wetsuit, wearing a rubber wetsuit that's just a little bit too small for you, such that everything that you tried to do was resisted, including the breathing, including your digestion. So it just forces you to come into this awareness. There's nothing like necessity or difficulty to shock you into awareness. And so when we're standing here like this, if we're toned up in the right way, every part of your body feels as though it's sheathed in a tightness. There's no flab. Everything has tone, and everything is ready to fire into action at the slightest provocation. We want to work in such a way that we come to that state. And it's very similar to the state, when you're meditating and the mind's going and you're trying to sort of quieten down. There comes a point, with me, it's normally the hour. So I always think an hour is a natural measure because it's the amount of time it takes for the mind to quieten. On the hour, by the minute, suddenly it's not a contest between me trying to quieten my mind and my mind fighting that. Just somehow there's just suddenly this, it's not even quiet, it's just an absence of mind, and then the whole room just comes alive with spirit. So that's the feeling. Everything is tense, everything has tension, everything has life. And it's the same with the body. This is how we're trying to get the body. And now let's just move leg to leg. This is the same thing. But we're just doing one at a time. So in a sense, it's easier to feel. But when you're doing both together, you can really feel the sort of just the power of this sexual machine, which is basically what it is. So I'm straightening the leg using this muscle to really tighten. And then I bend the leg using the hamstring to draw myself along. And I want to feel the animal passion, the spirit that's involved in this coordinated action. It's the opposite of a rational mind. It's passionate and animal. The rational mind may have its power, but it's terribly slow. It's useless in real life. This is why everyone's depressed, because they're operating from their rational mind, their thinking mind all the time. And so they've got no spirit because they've got no speed, they've got no appropriateness. They're not present. They're with their telephone or whatever. And last night I had to go and pick Ty up. And they've been to a religious moshav for the whole of Shabbat. And I had to go and pick her up at 10 o'clock at night. And of course, because it was Shabbat and they're in this religious community, they weren't allowed to have any electricity, so there are no phones. So she'd been without a telephone for 24 hours. Can you imagine anything worse? And so she was there sitting next to me in the car, just on her phone. And I was talking to her, and I could tell that the way she regarded me is basically an irritation. My reality, the reality of these two people sitting next to each other, trying to communicate, that reality was irritating her because it was interrupting her virtual reality, the reality that she was engaging in on this stupid telephone. I really admire Roberto. He's the only person I know that doesn't own a smartphone. Oh, that's it. That's good. See, women are good at this because they've got that natural killer instinct. You know what it's like when you're cleaning meat? Buy a chicken or something and you have to clean it. You're washing it, you're sticking your hand inside, you're pulling the innards out and thoroughly enjoying yourself. That's the feeling here. It's dirty, it's disgusting. That's it. It's interesting because you can see you've got the passion. What you lack is the strong legs. The legs are always the limiting factor. So when you can just get a little bit further down, you can see that your spirit is just so much more comfortable. Your body isn't. Your mind is complaining bitterly because of the pain in the legs. But the spirit is so much more alive when you can get deep into your posture. Part of me has to go with the spirit, and regardless of the pain or even the potential injury, And now let's just bring it back. And forget that, but just feel like you're sheathed, the legs especially, like they're sheathed in sheets of tightness. You know those rubber stretchy bands that they use? You know, they're just strips of elastic, really. It's like you've bound one around your legs, you've coiled it down. And so you can fight it, you can squeeze the muscles and fight against this rubber. Relaxing the shoulders. So to get relaxation, I have to work the part that I'm trying to relax. It's not enough just to, from my mind, just to say, okay, relax, or even simply to drop the elbows. I've got to get some sort of action in there. You need to tense the situation before you can then relax it. And then that's just a process. You know, you tense it and then you relax it. And then you realize it's not quite relaxed. So you tense it again, and then you relax, and then you have to tense it again. So it's what they call tempering steel, that image of heating the steel up in the fire, then banging it with the hammer to align the molecules, and then quenching it in the water, heating it again. This is the process of practice. Each practice session is like you're heating up the body and working it, and then rest is simply quenching it. Between the relaxation phase and the beginning of the tension phase, there's a moment of rest. And these moments, we can sort of stretch them out. So we don't have to go bing, 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 bing. It's not a piston action. We can use our mind to savor, to relish the changes. Pull back a little bit and just look at it and just see how am I changing from tension to relaxation? What's actually happening? Where's it coming from? Now let's try the full and empty. So this is just really relaxed. So now I'm beckoning the ground up into my heart. And then as I leave the leg, I let that flush back down. So I'm bringing the ground up and flushing it out. And again, it's just this dual action, one phase, A, B, A, B, A, B. And it's cleansing. It's cleaning the system so that it can work better. So how do I come forwards? To bring my weight into this leg, I obviously have to bring some tension in here. Otherwise, the leg will buckle and I'll fall down. But I want to bring minimum tension in here so that the energy can still come up. If this is getting too tense, then it will block the energy. So I'm coming forwards. This leg is getting strong, but it's trying to stay as relaxed as possible. And then the back leg just alternates with it. So tension is like a closing and relaxation is like an opening. We can really feel that here. As I leave the front leg, it's like an opening that allows everything to just flow out. And then as I come forward, there's a tightening, a closing. I'm closing around this strength. But what I want to do is just maintain an openness here, even though there's a closing. Otherwise, I don't have the flow. I'll just have a system that's strong. I want to have a system that can transmit energy. You can feel it. I feel it in the back leg, in a sense, better. So when I go back, I have to really stay open here in these groin points. It's just the sense that I'm hugging. You know, when you're hugging something, you put your arm around it and you pull it in towards you. And then there's a sense that that thing has become part of you. Same thing here. I'm hugging the ground. My leg has gone out to reach the ground. And then I'm just bringing it up and in. And now the back leg reaches, and then the back leg brings the ground up and in. So you don't have to think of the ground actually coming up the leg. You can just think of it as coming up this space here on the inside of the leg. But it definitely comes in these points in the groin into the danchin. And then we want it to bring it up to the heart. And that requires me to work the spine a little bit. So I have to lean back slightly to get the energy to come up into the heart. So here, to get the energy to come up into the danchin, is all I have to do is hug like this. So I'm going back and hugging. But now to get it to come up into the heart, I have to straighten my spine. So the upper body and the lower body, they're always separated, but working together, joined in order to work together, not joined in order to become one thing. I reach, I bring the ground up, and then I just straighten my spine. Pull my head back, lift the upper heart, and it pulls the energy up into my heart. This is how my sinking lifts my spirits. Sinking shouldn't physically get you down. I mean, it shouldn't emotionally get you down. Physically, it obviously gets you down. Something comes up and up into the heart. Something comes up into my groin and then heart. There's a refinement as it comes up the body, up the spine. That's it. So you become the princess. You become noble. It lifts the heart. Imagine you've got this diamond just over your thymus and it's gleaming and you really want to show it off. So look at my jewel. And you can bring it up higher, bring it up into the throat. You can bring it up into the head. So the head is really important, but not as a center of thinking. That's where it all goes wrong. But as a center of bright lightness, it's all important. So this sort of energy work, where we're bringing energy up into the head, is just very good. That's it. That's good. Feel how that is like the final part that brings it up into the heart and the throat and beyond. Is a lot of that comes from the back leg really straightening. You just feel it as you really straighten the back leg. It just arches the spine and lifts the heart. And so I'm filling here from the front leg, but at the very end, the back leg comes into its own again. And that's the straightening of the back leg in order to start it bending, but also it's the straightening of the back leg to bring the energy up into the upper regions. So this is the warrior pose, really, in yoga, you know, and they do that warrior pose and their back leg is really straight. And now this is the front leg straightening, which is bringing the energy up into here. Try the other foot forwards. Now the cross energy version, same thing. So bringing the ground up the spine. And now instead of letting it lift the heart, I bring it across the shoulder and into the arm and the hand. So I just really have to relax and just drop down. And then it really feels like this front foot is here. You know, the distance between them is really energetic. So I sink. Something in me has to release. It's only really this exercise I feel that where you can really feel just how much tension we hold on in order to give ourselves, in order to make ourselves conform to the image that we have in our mind of what it is that we think we're meant to be doing. That's how we're operating all the time. So I really want to get into the body. I want to feel the body. I have to get down into that foot in order to get that foot to have any presence in this hand. Otherwise, it's going to be blocked here. And most of the time, we're not operating from our body at all. We're operating from the mind's image of the body. I want to really feel the body in its viscerality, in its physicality, but also in its energetic aspect. All the time trying to get as far away from mind as possible. Mind is the enemy. The way we've cultivated mind, I mean, everything is mind, really. But the way we've cultivated mind is this place of anxiety and thinking and words. It's just disaster. Because it just blocks us off from anything that's not that. And so John used to say, it's like having this amazing, beautiful palace or mansion, and you're only living in one room. if you really sink, then your mind can't function. Your mind can't hold images. It's just there with things, yeah. It's gobbling up time and space. It's not holding back in order to create this tidiness, which is what our thinking mind is wanting to do all the time. This control freak, it's wanting to put everything in its place. So you're like a prowling, roaming, roving animal. A real carnivore, real hunter. You're close to the ground so no one can see you. But you've got this spirit that's about to pounce at any moment. And so when John introduced me to this way of working, this way of really activating the spirit and bringing the body into a much more dynamic way of working, he said, basically, just try and work like that twice a week. He says, no more, otherwise you'll overtire yourself. Twice a week, just really go for it. And he says, so the next morning, you literally should not be able to get out of bed. Your body should be so wrecked. That's the advice you give a young man. So at our age, we've just got to touch it every now and then. He once told me just how hard he worked, how hard Dr. Chi had to work, how hard Chen Manqing had worked. And he just said to me, if you want to reach that level, then you're going to have to do the same. And as he once pointed out, given your lack of talent, you're going to have to do a damn sight more than they did. And the only way that one's going to do the work really is to really enjoy it. Not enjoy it in the sense of getting pleasure from it, but just enjoying it because you know there's real truth in it. So again, it's that truth drive. It's the part of you that just seeks for the truth. And it's all important. Without that, there's no student. There's just a dilettante doing everything for pleasure. As John used to say, you don't have to be a masochist, but it helps. So it's interesting, a masochist is someone that gets sexual pleasure from pain. So it's quite interesting. Something in the pain arouses you, sparks you up, brings up the spirit. And now just bringing up the foot and pumping a little bit. Just trying to get into the habit of, as soon as this foot comes up, you're slipping into this. And you can just do this through the day. And so when you're standing in front of the sink doing the washing up, you can be doing this, yeah? And making good use of it good use of the time. I feel these ripples coming up the spine. You think of a ripple is like this. And so it's the spine has to be able to do that. My spine has to be able to wriggle in order to transmit this ripple all the way up to the top of the head. It gets up to here and ping, it's like it flicks up to the ceiling. And then let it subside. And so gradually reduces, but it never stops. It's asymptotic. Now, keeping to a yielding mind. So the only way you can possibly yield instantaneously to a surprise attack is if you're already yielding, if you already have yielding mind. If you've got a mind that's full of itself, it's always going to take time to shed that and adopt your yielding mind. So yielding mind is really just a listening mind. You're aware and you're listening to everything. You notice things. So when I'm out with Ty or Ronnie, I'm always amazed how little they notice. So I like watching people, watch people, everyone's got something that's amazing, like some way of moving, and everyone's got something wrong with them as well. So you can just see it often in the way they walk, see scoliosis, or their knees are collapsing in, or their ankles are collapsing in, or they're on their toes all the time. And you just have to learn to keep it to yourself.